there's nothing Frank Seravalli loves more than talking about trade targets and deadline talk in October. But that is exactly where we're going to start. Maybe not quite deadline talk, but let's go to Montreal, where injuries have stacked up a little bit, and Kent Hughes maybe is starting to look at the market for a defenseman.
Yeah, so he's been calling around to teams checking prices over the last week or so. And what they found out is that it's pretty expensive, and rightfully so, to get a top 4 right shot defenseman. They're between a rock and a hard place. I mean, you mentioned the injuries that have piled up. Caden Gooley's missed time. Mike Matheson's played through back spasms. We saw the big Trouba hit on Justin Barron. And what that's essentially done has forced them into some tough lineup decisions. Lane Hudson, he had a night already where he played 30 minutes and 5 seconds. He's averaging almost 24 minutes a night for a guy that's played a grand total of 9 NHL games in his career. That's not anything that they want. You can't just pile on and load minutes onto David Savard's plate, because there's a law of diminishing returns there. Once he gets over 20 minutes, you start to see his play drop off in a big way. They have a standard that they want to get to this season. They are pretty far from it right now. The problem with going out and trading for someone right now is they think they're well set up for the future in terms of their back end. There's not a ton of room in the long-term view, in their opinion, for, to add someone into that mix that's new, because they're believers in Logan Mailloux and David Reinbacher, who's hurt, and of course, Lane Hudson. And so you've got a few of those pieces already there, but you need some more additional legs to stand on, some more support this season. How do you solve for both those things at the same time? That's exactly what the Montreal Canadiens are weighing right now. Unhappy with the status quo and don't want to see that continue, but really uncomfortable paying the price. So we'll see where that goes. But I think definitely a storyline to watch, and they're not the only team looking for defense.
No, they're not. Just one more note on Montreal. Like you said it, Reinbacher, Caden Gooley's another name. So many of these guys are young. Not to go full Jason Gregor on you, but Mark Giordano, like if you're looking for a stopgap, why not just go to the free agent market?
I mean, it's an interesting thought. I don't know if they'll end up pulling the trigger or doing it. I mean, to your point, Justin Schultz, I think, would have been a fine enough addition as well.
Fair. You mentioned other teams looking for defense. It has been noted throughout the week the injuries that Utah is dealing with. Is Bill Armstrong maybe going to go out and try to do something about it?
He's trying to take a patient approach. I think he's trying to resist the urge. Look, no team can go and withstand losing two of their top 4 defensemen, and for the next 4 months, Sean Durzi and John Marino. It's just a huge blow to that team. 2 separate injuries, 2 critical injuries. And you look at the defense core that they're left with, and Michael Kesselring has done an admirable job. Maverick Lamoureux, towering defenseman, comes in 6'8" on skates. Somehow they lose last night 5-1 to the Avs, and he was on the plus side of the ledger playing 20 minutes a night, which is pretty impressive for an NHL debut. But they're not really comfortable with this defense core for the long haul for the rest of the season. And I'm told that what Bill Armstrong has done is call around to teams in the last week. They're actually 1-4 since Sean Durzi went down. And he's asked about some really established big name players. And the funny thing about that is a lot of times that results in a very short phone call, because teams are like, yeah, right. Come on. Like, let me know when you get serious. But the flip side of that is that's actually exactly how he acquired Mikhail Sergachev from the Tampa Bay Lightning at June's draft, when, he's calling around at the beginning of the offseason asking about certain players. And then all of a sudden, Julien Brisebois calls back and says, hey, remember that time that you asked about Sergachev? Are you still interested? And so maybe what's being done now is planting the seed. In the meantime, Utah Hockey Club is going to try and exhaust their internal options. Kevin Connaughton is a guy, in Tucson that he's got NHL experience if they need to. You saw Maverick Lamoureux come in. They've got a couple other guys, Artem Duda, that is a second-round pick that they're really high on, and Zuber as well. So I mentioned those guys in the piece today on Daily Faceoff. They might cycle through a few of those guys, and you could see them pull the trigger at some point, but nothing so far that they really seem to be latched onto.
Last one I got for you here. It is about John Tortorella in Philadelphia. There is the disagreement on the bench with Nick Seeler that has people kind of going like, oh, Is this kind of the part of the story where Torts loses the room a little bit? Is that the case, or is he safe?
No, this is, I mean, 'tis the season, right? It's getting chilly in Edmonton. You throw on the seat warmer, and for some coaches with slow starts, the Flyers off to a 1-5-1 start, people want to ask the question, is the seat getting warmer? And I can tell you that the answer is an unequivocal no for John Tortorella. I can tell you he's not going anywhere. So he has the complete and total support of the Flyers organization. They believe he's the right guy to continue to build and mold this team and teach the young players that they have. And a separate little side note on the Flyers, big day for Jet Luchenko, the 18-year-old first-round pick. Today, it appears, would be decision day. He didn't play in either game against the Washington Capitals this week, and the Flyers want him playing. If it's not here, they got to get him playing games elsewhere. They don't want him sitting around. So essentially the message today is play this weekend or you're heading back to Guelph. So the decision will be up to John Tortorella or not to see if Jet Luchenko is in his lineup. And one other really small thing for the Flyers to keep an eye on as well. Ivan Fedotov has struggled this season. You could see Kolosov come up from the AHL to get his taste of the NHL that he's been looking for potentially as soon as this weekend. So keep an eye on the Flyers roster.
And Fedotov, 3-point-something million for the next this year and next year. Would the situation be like you can get that guy through waivers if you wanted him to go get his game right in the American League, right?
Yes, you could.
All right, there you go. Excellent insight from Frank. If you want to read more about those Icebreakers Nuggets, you can head to dailyfaceoff.com.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.